Utah's primary election ballots start hitting mailboxes today, and those running for office are hoping the public will take some time to go over each race and take the time to vote.
Joining us live on the KSL Newsline is U.S. Senate candidate Mitt Romney. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning, Amanda and Brian. Good to be with you.
We do have in Utah a problem with voter turnout, I guess, even with the making of it. Yes, we make it so easy. We send it to people in the mail. But would you say that we have a problem with voter turnout?
I'm afraid that's the case. We rank number 32 out of 50 states in terms of voter participation. And it's kind of strange because, people recognize that there was a huge sacrifice made by sons and daughters of America to bring us our right to vote and to have democracy. So, voting is part of saying thank you to them for that sacrifice.
I know, Governor, a lot of people will say, well, you don't need to vote because Republicans have everything locked up in this state. But do you think the caucus system might help or hurt our voter turnout in this state?
Well, I think some people are confused by the process for becoming a candidate in the state. Some hear about caucuses and conventions, and then others wonder, gosh, what does that have to do with my primary vote? But, everybody's going to get a ballot in the mail. They should get it this week, and they can settle any of the questions and controversies simply by filling it out and sending it in.
What percentage of Utahns have voted in primaries? Do you know that, Governor?
It's about 35%, so it's not as high as you'd like it to be. These are obviously the choices that will determine who our candidates will be and ultimately who is going to represent us in Washington. So it makes a difference for us. And I think it's a real statement that we make to ourselves about our appreciation of the sacrifices made by people to bring us our freedom.
Governor, if I could switch topics with you quickly here, tell us about this retreat you have. I know this is an annual thing you have in Park City, and this is coming up as we go throughout this week. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Every year I bring together some thought leaders from the world of academics and business and politics and ask them what they think about the future of American leadership. And this year we're really focusing on private enterprise and healthcare, and looking particularly in healthcare to brain health and what it is that makes people keep their wits about them, and at the same time looking at how America is competing globally. So we'll have people like Meg Whitman, who CEO of Hewlett-Packard, now with another startup, and an author of a book called Hillbilly Elegy is going to be there. Another professor from Stanford who is convinced that we're all going to be driving electric cars in the next 10 or 20 years, coming in talking about the future of that technology. So interesting ideas. And by the way, Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, will be joining us. And of course, Governor Herbert will be welcoming the guests as they come into Park City.
We understand former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg will also be with you.
Yes, that's right. Mayor Bloomberg has agreed to come on by. Obviously a man of extraordinary talent, not only a mayor, but a person who's built one of the largest media companies in the world. And his perspectives on what's happening in the world will be interesting. He's a little more liberal than most of the attendees, so we'll probably give him a tough time.
Governor, you mentioned health care a moment ago. Do you think health care is dead as far as the government is concerned? If you're able to win, the Senate seat from the state of Utah, do you think there's a chance to revive any sort of a GOP health care plan in the House of Representatives and Senate?
Well, Brian, I think that what you're going to see is Republicans like myself arguing that the Republican Party shouldn't try and build a new health care plan that we impose on the people of the country, but instead return health care decisions to states the way it was before Obamacare, and let states have their own plans for getting people insured, for making sure that people with pre-existing conditions can have insurance. I'm absolutely convinced that states do a better job at almost everything than the federal government.
The primary is, 3 weeks from today, I think, Governor? Many of us heard the debate that you had with your challenger, Representative Kennedy, that was a week or so ago. What did you take away from that debate?
Well, I think we had a good exchange. We're very similar with regards to our policy views. I didn't hear many differences there. Perhaps there's a difference of emphasis. And one of the reasons that I'm running is my belief that by virtue of my experience in the business world, as well as my political experience and the relationships I have with senators and the president, that I'll be able to help Utah punch above its weight. We often don't get as much respect as we deserve. We've got some challenges, but we've also got the fastest growing economy and population in the country. and we've got a lot to teach the country. And I think it's important to have that kind of clout in Washington. We're going to lose an extraordinary person of clout with Orrin Hatch leaving the Senate, but I'm going to do my best to try and pick that back up.
You've got a couple of things to say, I guess we can call it, about President Trump, who happens to be meeting, by the way, 1 week from today with Kim Jong-un of North Korea. What do you anticipate coming out of this upcoming summit there?
Well, I think everybody in the country has high hopes, and frankly, the entire world has high hopes. It's hard to know exactly what Kim Jong-un is going to do. Clearly, our objective has to be a permanent and verifiable denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. That's our priority, and that's either going to be accomplished diplomatically, or, as the president says, it will be accomplished militarily. And that, I think, has concentrated the mind of Kim Jong-un, and hopefully he'll make the right decisions. He's going to probably try and give us a head fake one way or the other, but ultimately I think he recognizes that we have to reach that conclusion, and the president's going to pursue it aggressively, and we wish the president well. It's obviously a negotiation at this point, and hard to predict what will happen in the first meeting, but I'm happy there's actually discussion going on, and apparently some willingness to move on the part of North Korea.
If you, hypothetical here, Governor, but if you are able to win the primary, and if you were able to win the election, what would you see your role in the Senate as when you go back to Washington?
Well, I'm focused on the deficit and the amount of debt we have, and I know that's not something that keeps a lot of people up at night, but I think they forget that we pay interest on all that debt, and we're adding about $1 trillion a year to our national debt of $21 trillion, and our interest payments are going from $300 billion a year to about $700 billion a year. And it's unthinkable that a country like ourselves is going to be paying interest like that. It's like a huge credit card balance that ultimately could really slow down our economy and hurt our families. So I'm going to go to work to finally get a control of this excessive spending and get our budget back in balance.
Do you see bipartisanship as something that is important to you as someone who might take that seat?
Amanda, I think it's essential that we find a way to work with people across the aisle. I'm absolutely convinced that Democrats love America just like Republicans do. We disagree on issues. Ronald Reagan used to joke, paraphrasing him, he said it's not that liberals are ignorant, it's just that what they know is wrong. And I know they disagree with me on that, but these are smart people that love America. We're smart people that love America, and we can find common ground from time to time. And as a result, improve our schools, improve our health care, get our businesses to hire more people and raise wages. These are the things we've got to be working on together.
Governor, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. Thanks so much for your time this morning.
Thanks, Brian and Amanda. Good to be with you.
U.S. Senate candidate Mitt Romney with us on the KSL Newsline.